Welcome to Lifetime Talks and our series on performance and longevity with MIORA. I'm Jamie Martin. I'm here with Lifetime's Chief Science Officer, Jim LaValle, and we are talking about one of my favorite topics, sleep and resiliency, and why it matters so much to our health. So, Jim, you and I have spent quite a bit of time together talking about these various aspects of health, and in almost every conversation we've had, sleep has been a fundamental part of it. So, let's talk about why sleep is so important to our health.
Well, sleep is what resets our body for the next day. It's what helps us to repair. It helps our brain to get rid of the byproducts of its metabolism from the previous day. So, sleep is foundational to your health and performing at your best. And all of us know this. When you don't get a great night's sleep, you're reaching for that extra cup of coffee, you're looking for that energy drink, you're yawning at 1 o'clock.
Mhm.
We feel it. We're not as cognitively sharp, and it doesn't take that many days of that to see the difference. So, sleep is really the way that our body repairs and prepares for the following day.
Yep. And yet, we know this, we know it's foundational, and it's still one of the first things that so many of us are willing to compromise. I know I have shared on the podcast in the past that when it comes to prioritizing different things in my life, I'll often cut my sleep back significantly in order to do all the other things on my to-do list. And I know I'm not alone in that. You hear these statistics about how much average sleep people are getting. I mean, we say, like you've said before, 7 to 9 hours is great. It's easy to say, but harder to do.
Yeah, I think, the modern world where we're pushing longer and harder into our days, we're exciting our brain more. Like we're looking at screens, we're getting more blue light. We come home in the evening and we turn every light on in our home, right? And I think a lot of it is also just, you know, because we have our children learning these behaviors, they're
Mhm.
going to two different practices and making sure they're getting everything done they need to get done. You get to the end of the day, if you have children, they're in bed, and you finally think, I've got some time alone.
Mhm.
I don't want to just go to bed. I want to watch a show. I want to read a book. I want to catch up on housework, whatever that is, right? That we end up extending into that night. And that's where it's a slippery slope. And, the very first sign, if you're having trouble getting to sleep, you're making a list, you're laying there, your mind's roaming and restless, or you go to sleep right away because you're just beat, but you wake up at 2 or 3 a.m. and you're thinking, what do I got to do tomorrow? What am I going to pack for vacation in 6 months?
Mhm.
Right? You're just thinking of the list.
Yeah.
That is the sign that you have hyperarousal.
Mm.
And it's interesting, people don't realize that, insomnia, when you have trouble sleeping, so there's two keys. One, you just cheat yourself of sleep, like what you just said. I'm
Yeah.
going to shorten my sleep, and therefore I'm going to need to use more coffee, more caffeine, more nicotine, whatever it takes
Yeah.
to get me to make it through my day. And we get into that vicious cycle, right?
Yeah.
That's just a decision that you make, a voluntary decision of, okay, I'm not going to get enough sleep because I've got all these things I want to do. Then there's insomnia.
Yep.
And one of the leading reasons people walk into a drugstore, for example, is to pick up a sleep aid. And whether that's, the traditional ones that are basically antihistamines or reaching for melatonin, people are walking in every day trying to find a way to get a more restful night's sleep. And I ask this all the time. I know we were talking about it before the episode that I ask this question. I mean, almost every talk I give, and I give a lot of lectures over the course of a year,
Mhm.
is how much sleep are people getting? I ask a simple question. How many people in the room get 7 to 9 hours of restful sleep, wake up in the morning and feel refreshed? Raise your hand. And then I do a mic check because nobody raised their hand. I'm thinking, oh, nobody must have heard me, right? But it's very rare that I get a handful of people that report, oh, yeah, I sleep great.
Yeah.
And that's kind of I don't know, it's kind of where we are as a society, right? We
Mhm.
get up early, we run hard, and we go to bed late. And then we expect some kind of miraculous outcome. that we're going to stay sharp.
Right, that we're gonna feel our best when we really aren't giving ourselves the chance to feel our best because of how important sleep is for our overall health.
Exactly.
You mentioned insomnia, and I just wanna like, one of the statistics that was shared is, like, 30 to 40% of Americans will report insomnia this year. That is interesting. So, by definition, what is insomnia? Just so we're clear on what that looks like.
Sure. Insomnia is a disorder of hyperarousal of the HPA axis.
Mhm.
So, hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenal axis. So, your brain is getting overwhelmed by too many things to do.
Yep.
Maybe a text or an email that kind of got under your, your craw a little bit, right? Somebody
Mhm.
sent something, or, oh my God, I forgot to do this for whatever reason, or you're just busy. You could be a single parent.
Yeah.
You're maybe working two jobs to make ends meet. Maybe you have a child that, has a disability. I mean, there's all kinds of things that just happen in life. But in the end, your brain takes on too much stress. Now, when it's time to go to bed, your brain still thinks a white tiger is chasing you, basically.
Yeah.
And either you'll get sleep latency, like, hey, I can't get to sleep. My mind is roving. You may be just, as I said, tired and you get to sleep, but then you pop up or you wake up multiple times a night. Pain can do it,
Yeah.
right? Oh, I've got hip pain or I've got shoulder pain and I roll over and all of a sudden the pain wakes me up. So there's a lot of reasons why you could wake up, but insomnia itself is your brain's taking on too much stress and can't create a countermeasure to that stress.
Ugh. Yeah, that's a huge chunk of people who will report that.
I'm, it's the number one thing. And I would say that in 40 years now of seeing people and working with my clinics and my docs and all of our other staff, number one complaint,
Mm,
number
okay.
one complaint, no matter what other condition they have coming in.
Yeah.
And then remember, you have people that travel time zones.
Mhm.
So they're flying from one time zone to the next, and that throws off your circadian clock, and that can disrupt your sleep. People that work night shift. I mean, there's all kinds of permeations of what is going on with sleep. And I think it's a core reason why, people have health issues.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that because what does sleep deprivation do to our bodies or lack of sleep overall?
Yeah. So, I mean, the first one is obviously, it disrupts your immune system. Typically, you'll see changes in stress hormone response. So you can lose your awakening cortisol response, which is really important for your health. You can see changes in blood sugar. That happens.
Yeah.
Cognitive capacity. I mean, what is, and I always go back to this. Well, what's a form of torture?
Hmm.
Keeping people awake.
Yeah.
Because after you keep people awake long enough, you've exhausted the neurochemical pools in the brain. And now all of a sudden, you break down that person's integrity because they lose the dopamine, they lose the serotonin, the adrenaline pools are down. And they become cognitively challenged.
Yeah.
And in a way where when we deprive ourselves of sleep, it's kind of it really is. It's a light form of that.
Yeah. Well, you just think about when you're some of those times, whether it's you're dealing with jet lag or any of those things, just how your body feels. Like you often feel sick to your stomach. You're not functioning at your best.
Feel
And
achy.
yes, your whole body, you feel it across the entire system until you're like, I just have to lay down. Like
Right.
that's the thing I have
Right.
to do.
Yeah. And I always say, or do you feel like you're pushing a thought through jello?
Yes.
That's the one thing that people always go, man, that's exactly how I feel. I cognitively can't get out or respond to something that someone told me. And sleep deprivation leads to neuroinflammation and leads to cognitive changes.
Yep. All right, so let's kind of look on like what is sleep doing for us? You talked about it at the top of the episode. This time for reset, repair. What's actually happening in our bodies when we're sleeping? And because that's why it's so important for us. Our
Correct.
body's doing a lot of important things.
Sure. So we've talked in the past about the master slave clock and your circadian rhythm, your body runs on a clock. What turns out that at different parts of the day, your metabolism is doing different things,
Right.
right? So you're making hormones in the morning. So men release their testosterone in the morning, thyroid hormones. That's why you take thyroid hormone in the morning, right? We release cortisol in the morning. And then all of these things are cycling, such as I'm eating during the day to produce the energy I need, but I shouldn't be eating at night because now I'm cleaning up the byproducts of my metabolism for that day,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And so what sleep does, and typically people ask, well, what's ideal sleep? Oh yeah, 7 to 9 hours. Great. But actually, that circadian rhythm, we are not meant to hang in a cave during daylight hours.
Mm. Yep.
We're not, we're not meant to be what we call night owls. When people say that, I go, oh boy, you really have got your circadian timing off. So basically, at the hour of 10 p.m., your body starts to shift. And it's interesting. The Chinese used to call this your Shen cycles. So Chinese medicine identified this thousands of years ago, that your body ran through these different organ-specific times when they were performing functions, which I
Mhm.
personally feel is fascinating that
Yeah,
they could
that's
figure that out. So you're doing physical repair the first half of the night,
okay.
getting rid of waste products of metabolism, resetting the signals that are going to go out through all of your body clocks, because you've got the suprachiasmatic nucleus clock, the master slave clock,
Yep.
but then all your other organs are working off of that.
Yep.
So when you throw off that master slave clock because of insomnia or not getting enough sleep, the communication to all those organs are off. So when it's working well, you're repairing in the early stages of the night.
Yep.
And in the later stages of the night, that's when you're building up those pools of neurotransmitters and you're really preparing your brain for that next assault of the day,
Right.
right? You got to attack the day, right? Your
Yep.
cortisol goes up, your hormones are going up, it's preparing you to get going. So that's the value of sleep. Obviously, it's the repair of keeping your circadian rhythm intact, releasing adequate melatonin. We know that people that release healthy amounts of melatonin and tend to be healthier.
Right.
It's also very, very protective for the brain, very protective for other tissues as well. So that's the real nature of getting a good night's sleep, is it's setting the stage for your body chemistry to perform the way it's meant to perform the next day.
So, talk a little bit about, you started mentioning like 10 p.m., like something, is there an ideal time for most people? Like an ideal window for sleep? Is it 10 p.m. to 5 a.m., 10 p.m. to 6 a.m.? And is it that first half of the night typically that's at repairs, like 10 to 2? What does that look like?
Well, no, you're trying to shorten your night of sleep. Want to repair, but
Yeah.
only have to sleep 4 hours. I know where this question's
No,
going.
no, no.
Come
I
on.
really
Come on.
I need my sleep.
Yeah. Okay. Good. So, well, I mean, honestly, and this varies. There's some people that can get by on 7 hours sleep. They can buy a 6.5 hour sleep. So there's a little bit of variance in this, right? And it
Yeah.
also matters when you wake up in terms of what stage of sleep you're in when you
Yeah.
wake up. That
Mhm.
matters because you can wake up groggy, but you wake up maybe 30 minutes earlier
Mm.
and you wake up refreshed.
Yeah.
One of the biggest things is creating consistency.
Yeah.
So consistency of sleep is important. You're going to bed at the relatively the same time. So if you look at the circadian rhythm and kind of, how that works, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m.
Kinda loosely.
And somewhere in between there is good. When you start to shave it down to 6 hours, that's that netherworld of some people still perform pretty good, but I'd love to look at their labs.
Yeah.
And other people really start to notice that their performance is down because they're just not getting enough sleep. And it's different if you if you say you stay up till midnight and you sleep till 8 and you get that 8 hours, you actually still might not feel rested.
It feels different.
It's different than getting to bed around 10 p.m., trying to limit the amount of light that you're getting exposed to, and resting in accordance to that biorhythm that we as humans have. I mean, like I said, we're not marsupials.
Right.
So, our body has a rhythm.
Absolutely. So you talked about, I mean, when you said that, like shaving off the ends, you hear a lot of people talking about like I'm burning the candle at both ends, or like, because it's like in this society that we're living, it's all about productivity. It seems like that's what it's all about, but that comes at a major cost.
Yeah, I think the first thing is, I mean, we pretty much know that after you work about 10 hours, your productivity goes down pretty
Yeah.
significantly. So I really challenge people a lot of times. I go, well, what could you do to be more efficient within that 10-hour window
Yeah.
so that you are able to shut down? Because a lot of times it's about planning
Mhm.
and also organizing. Because I always, it's funny. I ask people, so do you make a list? Oh, yeah, I make a list. Do you ever get done with the list? No, I never get done with my list. So the list is always going to be there.
Yeah.
It's a byproduct of our modern world. It's really establishing what's absolutely essential that I get done today, what can be done tomorrow, and also not overcommitting. I know for myself,
Mm.
I'm I guess a recovering overcommitting addict. I would always say, "Oh yeah, I can do that."
Yeah.
Hey, could you write a 600-page book for us? Sure, I can do that. Right? And so learning that, you know, what do I really need to commit to? What's important? And I don't think we value the fact that we turn our brain off for a while. Because think about it when you go on vacation.
I know exactly where you're going with this.
A, you sleep great.
Yes.
B, you actually problem solve without perseveration, right? It
Yep.
just kind of comes to you
Yeah.
because you've opened up that space to allow your brain to kind of process instead of continuing to throw information in and not allowing the processing. And I always find I get some of my most creative thoughts
Yes.
in my off time.
Yep. Well, I think that's why they talk about so often. It's like when you're out for the run or when you're on vacation, like those big aha moments often happen because we're not so like focused on the list and the next thing to check off, right?
That's exactly right. And
Yeah.
and and once again, the biggest thing, look, we're busy. All of us are.
Yep.
And we run demanding lives. And I'm not saying, oh, you've got to slow down, because the old story of, oh, you just have to sleep more and stress less. Well, yeah, but wear my shoes for a day,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
It's not always easy, but it's the thoughtfulness of managing your day. Because what people end up doing with problems with sleep is they want to take something at bedtime.
Yep.
And the reality is, if you're having trouble with sleep, you need to work on your stress response during the daytime.
Yep.
And then you may need to do something at night,
Yeah.
right? But it's not just oh, I'll take a sleeping pill,
Yep.
whether it's natural or a prescribed medication,
Right.
right? It's, well, why are you having that problem to begin with?
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about sleep apnea. This is one of those conditions you've mentioned this in a few different episodes we've talked through. And I know like that's another sleep condition that can have a real impact on our long-term health and well-being.
Oh, yeah, it's big. And there's a lot of different reasons for that,
Yeah.
right? So you have airway reduction, the way the person's epiglottis is, where their tongue's laying, airway from the sinuses.
Mhm.
It could be weight. When you gain weight, you can change in the
Mm.
diaphragm. And then you could have something called central apnea, which is basically your central nervous system that is creating a dysrhythmic signal
Mhm.
in your breathing pattern. So, interrupted breathing pattern. But more importantly, when you go into an apnea state, which basically happening is every so often, it could be 20 or 30 times a night, you're suffocating your brain. So you don't get enough oxygen to your brain. That raises your heart rate. And you see that your heart rate could go up to 160,
Ugh.
170 beats a minute at bedtime. And when you're trying to sleep, you don't even know it.
Yeah.
And that imbalance is really what leads to increased risk of heart attacks and, increased risk of sympathetic tone, blood pressure, blood sugar, because you're getting these spikes and lacks of oxygenation and then spikes in your sympathetic nervous system, driving your heart rate to go up. And, this is a significant health crisis. Like, I think we just don't do enough to identify sleep apnea.
Right. And we've taught I mean, you wanna make sure, like, if you have a partner that, like, if as soon as they notice something like this, making sure that you're getting checked out on this because of those effects.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's one thing if you have a slight snore,
Right.
but if you notice that I am not feeling refreshed, and one of the big ones that happens is kind of daytime somnolence, where you're driving,
Mm.
but you're having trouble
Mm.
staying awake, and you're doing something that's very alert. You
Yeah,
know,
like, you
you're
need to be awa
yeah, you're midday, you're on the highway. It would
Yeah,
be good to be alert.
yeah,
And so daytime somnolence, where it's like I can't stay awake.
yeah.
That could be a sign, if that's a chronic thing going on, that sleep apnea could be an issue. And obviously, weight gain, blood pressure changes, even lipid changes. It really starts to create that meta inflammatory signaling that disrupts your lipids and lowers your growth hormone, throws off your sex hormones, throws off your glucose, all because of disturbed sleep, especially in light of something like apnea.
Absolutely. Where do naps fit into that? Like, if somebody like, I mean, daytime somnolence, I think is what you called it. Like, you'd think like, "Okay, just need to go home and take a nap." Is that what is that gonna do for us? Is it helpful?
I don't think there's enough, like, I don't see enough information on, because people ask, well, what if I only sleep 5 hours a night during the week, but I make up for it on
Yeah.
the weekend? Like, is the makeup count? Probably not. I would say if you're tired midday and a 15-minute nap rejuvenates you and makes you be able to be productive the rest of the day, I would choose taking a nap versus not taking a nap. But one of the problems people have is they may nap for 45 minutes or an hour, say at 5 p.m.,
Yeah.
and now they're having trouble going to sleep.
Yes.
And so there's I like using, I use an app called Binaural Rhythm,
Mm,
10-minute app. Put in your headphones, and it has different types of sounds that put your brain into a better rest mode. And so you could do a 10-minute frequency
yeah.
that helps reestablish kind of normal brain rhythm. And that can be very helpful
Yeah.
without saying, "Oh, I've got to have a couch in my office." Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, but those different types of programs for the brain, fantastic.
I love that. We'll have to make sure to link to that. What are some key biomarkers around sleep that somebody may that may indicate that somebody is having sleep issues or not getting high quality sleep?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest one is, looking at your circadian rhythm of cortisol.
Mm,
Are you an inverted cortisol producer, meaning your awakening response is low in the morning, and then you're building up and having higher cortisols at night than you should?
right.
That's an easy one. You can measure melatonin.
Mhm.
I mean, a lot of times you could look at the indirect effect of poor sleep, like
Mhm.
where is your cognitive function at? Because cognitive function being driven by dopamine and serotonin when you're not
Yeah.
sleeping, you're not making as much dopamine back into those little buckets or neurochemical
Yeah.
vesicles that are holding that. Um, Blood sugar, right? Body weight, blood pressure. These are all things that could be a sign, easy sign that there's some problems brewing.
Yeah. And so, like, whenever we're talking about this, we also talk about, like, what can we do about it, right? So, I mean, obviously, we talk a lot of there's something called sleep hygiene, How do we set ourselves up for better sleep? You already alluded to it starts earlier in the day, and I know one of the first things is morning sunshine makes a huge difference in terms of resetting that circadian rhythm. What else is there?
Yeah, it's like that morning sunshine's important because it's signaling the suprachiasmatic nucleus to start the engine
Yep.
and tells your hypothalamus, start sending the signals to all the hormones, it's time.
Yep.
So that's great. Um, I usually have people during the course of their day work on doing a little bit of box breathing, do a couple minutes at noon, do a couple minutes at the end of your workday, do a few minutes at bedtime, reset your nervous system. That's important. Identifying, well, how stressful is my day?
Yeah.
What can I do to manage that stress? Because honestly, it's easy to say, "Oh, just don't let it bother you." Yeah, yeah, right. Exactly, right? You could be working for someone, you could be the boss,
Yeah.
or you're working for someone. Either one of those could be very difficult in the person's life, right?
Mhm.
Um, and so really assessing your stress during the day, and are you feeling overcommitted during the day? Are you feeling anxious and nervous? Are you craving comfort food? If you are, you should consider taking something to help you overcome that during the
Mhm.
course of your day so that you can start to ease into your night the way you're supposed to. That's
Yep.
important. Magnesium status is super important for sleep. So a lot of people don't just get enough magnesium, and taking magnesium is really good at bedtime. Usually people need to take some during the day too,
Mhm.
because they think it's going to make them sleepy. Not really. You can take magnesium during the day, you'll be fine. So those are things are important. But then of course there's that you don't have to have every light on in your home in the evening.
Mhm.
Like you should be progressing to a dark room at night. Don't have a TV on in your bedroom.
Right.
You may need to, you know, lavender oil is really good in terms of, just a little bit diffusing of lavender oil to help calm your nervous system. Taking an Epsom salt bath can be really good for that. Sleeping in a cool room,
Yep.
right? Really big to try to bring the temperature down in the room in order to sleep.
Yep.
Watching your phone. I mean, I remember I had a client once who traded with Europe and Asia, and he was in the US. And he came to me because he had something called dysphonia. His voice crackled. His
Mm.
vocal cord basically got paralyzed, and it was stress induced.
Oh, interesting.
And he's a big executive, right? And he had 2 phones by his bedside all night doing trading so that when he would hear a text or an email ding, and he'd be up.
Oh, man. To talk about disrupted sleep. Like,
Exactly. And so I think, you can take your phone and put it in another room. If you're using it for your alarm clock, which a lot of people do, at
yeah.
least turn the screen off, move it fairly far away from you
Yep.
so you can hear it, but you don't need to be on, your digital app, whatever it is. It's an iPad, it's, whatever, it's your phone. You don't need to be doing that right before you go to bed. I
Right.
mean, I think reading a book's great. Now, some people would say, "Hey, my blue light blocker, I've got the blue light blocking on my iPad and I read."
Yep.
That's great, but, watching an action movie at 9 p.m. when you're going to bed at 10 p.m.
Yeah.
might excite you,
Yeah.
right? So stay away from the excitation. Create a lifestyle that's saying, "I'm gonna build my productivity during the day, and then I'm going to move towards relaxation state into the evening."
Yeah. I love that where it's kind of just knowing it's not just an evening routine. It starts in the morning, but then build up, wind down, right? To set
Right.
ourselves up for that deeper quality sleep. You mentioned magnesium. You've also mentioned melatonin. What about any other supplementation that might aid in some? I've heard like valerian root, for instance, so different things that may help with sleep and support people.
Yeah, I mean, passion flower, valerian root, there's a variety of herbs that can calm me down. Everybody's different. I have some people that take melatonin and, no matter how they do it, how little or how much, it doesn't work for them.
Doesn't make a difference. Yeah.
Yeah, it just didn't work for them. Or they get, typically if they're getting vivid dreams, it means they haven't taken enough.
Mm,
They haven't crossed past, REM sleep into deep sleep. Um, so valerian can work. Some people get a hangover from valerian, but other
mhm,
people do fine with valerian. Passion flower, another one that can calm people down.
mhm.
Magnesium, super important. There's a extract from magnolia known as honochyl A, which in when you take honochyl A, which is a botanical, it helps to induce alpha waves.
Mm,
So that helps because alpha sleep, right? You're getting into those transition patterns for sleep.
Yeah.
So that can be really good. And really, but the go-to for me is usually melatonin because that's the signaling compound.
Yep. Signaling that it's time to
Time to go down. And when your cortisol levels are high, you can't signal melatonin release. And when you release melatonin, you stop the release of corticotropin releasing hormone,
mm,
which is the signal that says make more cortisol.
right.
And that is what allows you to go into deep sleep
Yeah.
and do all that repair that we want to do when we're sleeping.
Yeah.
So cortisol and melatonin are like this.
Yep. They work hand in
They
hand.
work hand in hand. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like we're gonna have to do a whole episode just on the stages of sleep because, you've mentioned alpha, you've mentioned deep sleep, REM, REM. REM is the band.
REM sleep.
REM sleep, but I think it's worth talking about what's happening in those stages, and at some point we'll come back to it. Are there any other things that are really important for people to know about sleep, just kind of from a base level before we, wrap this one up?
Yeah, I mean, it is so important to focus on getting a good night's sleep because it literally it's the window to longevity.
Mm,
Good night's sleep is going to really build your resiliency, your capacity, your ability to be bright as you're aging, right? Um, Got to watch exercise. And some people push really hard at exercise. Some people that helps them get a great night's sleep. Other people they get revved up. So maybe they got to figure another time for exercise.
right.
And you know, all the more important reason, when I'm dealing with a like an NBA team or a hockey team, they play a lot of night games.
Mhm.
And so they'll get like the calm eye covers
Mm,
that are, actually kind of creating a sensory change to get them ready for sleep. They'll do things like taking melatonin. You because naturally after a game, you're like this and you
yeah,
have to bring your body down.
yep,
And then they have to travel time zones. Not too much different than executive who has a late night business meeting and they craft a big deal. And then they're in a different city, then they go to bed, then they gotta get up early, they gotta get on a plane. This is a problem for a lot of us because a lot of us, are all over the country with our work.
yep. So how do we make sure we can optimize even in spite of those challenges and those the things that are part of our daily lives for
Right?
some of us?
Exactly.
It's so interesting to think about, like, that high performance and now it's bedtime. Like, that's a whole other topic we'll get into at some point as well. So,
So
all right, Jim, we have covered a lot here again. And again, this is gonna be one of those episodes, if you've listened to any episodes in this series, sleep has been mentioned. So make sure to tune in to this one, check out the other episodes, and to learn more, visit miora.lifetime.life to learn all about our performance and longevity offerings. Thanks,
fantastic.
Jim.